yeah, I never could get this to work. I couldn't get this to work at all. Because now it doesn't want to work. It's the garbage man, it's the dogs, and it's the computer. It doesn't want to work. Okay, I went about it another way. And I went through this. So. That's the playback. That's the playback, y'all. I'm back. The powers that be have it, get it their way, of course. They got their nerves. The dogs is barking, the garbage man out, the neighbor out with their kids. So I don't have no control over the background. I was talking about how they are not shower water. It ain't not shower water. Oh Lord. So I once again, I can't show y'all. I might just jump up and do it one day now that I know I can pull up Google Earth. But since Google Earth offers us the ability to view, the globe, all around the globe, and it allows us to zoom in to specific areas. And if we were to zoom into the various waterways that I showed you on that little map, all of the waterways are contaminated now, and there is no fishing due to the extreme contamination in the waters. Now, if you follow me, you know that everything I talk about end up going together, but it takes me time to build up and then bring it back together. I talk about different parts first. You say, what they don't shower water. Which will be the most sought after source in the world. Right, the water. They are already running out of it. There is a giant underground aquifer in Great Plains. Now this thing, they talk about this water shortage. I don't believe it for 1 second. And the reason why I don't believe it, because what I know for sure is the world is a self-contained ecosystem. And so everything, when you have an ecosystem, that was one of the terminologies I came with a long time ago. I hear it now everywhere. A self-contained ecosystem is that a self-contained ecosystem is just that, it's self-contained, and in order for the model to exist, it will always have the exact same components. And that's when they talk about the different water cycles and stuff. So the water is still here. It's just that due to man's works, we've contaminated it. That's number one. And there has been shifts from all the excavations and different things like that that has taken place. That's what's leading to the what they call the water shortage. But it's a self-contained ecosystem, and this land would not exist at all if the waters weren't here anymore. It says all of the wealthy are buying up rights to the water, and that's why I wanted to show that map, is because every part of this globe, it seems to me, has been explored. Now every area on this globe is not accessible to the general public, because I do believe that there have been things that have been found that are really dangerous. And I say that I told a story about a friend of mine who passed away. He died at about 96 or 97, and his name was Mr. Warren Harris, and he was the first black tour bus driver in Detroit. And he tells all of his tales, and one of them is about how he took the wrong road one day, and it led him into a part of the land where it was completely dark for 24 hours a day. He said he'd never been so scared in all his life. In all his life, he to the day he died, it was never anything as scary as that. He said he could not see in front of himself, in front of the bus, and he had two other drivers with him, and they had to take turns driving and also looking, because they didn't know if they would drive over a cliff or something at any given second, because they couldn't see, not even with the headlights. He said it was so dark that the headlights wouldn't shine, wouldn't shine ahead of them. And he went on and on about that, and he said that was just an extraordinary experience. And he also talked about a few other stories about different encounters with things we wouldn't expect to exist in this realm. And so I forgot what I was talking about. Anyway, because you're talking about they buying up the water. They're buying up every natural resource. They staking a claim. They staking a claim on everything that composes this earth for the purpose of making sure that the rest of humanity. This is another thing I've been thinking about and trying to explore. Who are these people or beings that do this? They're staking claim to every part of this earth and every element of this earth and every aspect of this earth, so that nobody else can get it. I'm gonna stop. I'm going to read your chat, but I gotta say this. When I was preparing to do this live, I went to Google. What was it I googled? Dang, I closed all the screens because my computer and everything was about to freeze, so I had a few screens open. But I went to Google. Oh wow, what was it? Been looking at so many things and cross-sectioning. I can't remember what I gotta remember. Whatever it was that I Googled to get just the image, for show and tell. There were a bunch of images. I'm trying to think of one of the images so I can remember what I was Googling. So there were a bunch of images, but I know, because I'm going somewhere with it. Everything is comes together, and it has to do with going back to school. So I Googled the term physics. We talked about physics doing that broomstick challenge. So I Googled the term physics, and then I click on images. After I click on images, after I do a search, then I go to the advanced settings. And once I go down to advanced settings, I can say, hey, Google, I want images that are free use. No, royalties. I don't have to give no commons or citations to it or whatever it's called. And so when I did that under physics, what came up under the usage rights, it's called usage rights. Well, there were only two options for the images associated with physics. I'm going somewhere with this, y'all. I don't even know if I could do it all in one video, because I'm going to get upset. I already know me. Anywho, the two usage rights that came up that I could choose from to use the images that came up for the term physics were Creative Commons license. And so I will have to go into and Google what is a Creative Commons license. Whatever a Creative Commons license is the terms that I must abide by in order to use that image. And so I didn't even want to go through that. I'd have been through it. I can't remember everything. But let's say hypothetically, that's what the case would have been, that I just wanted you to show a background image, show and tell of physics, or whatever, a person came up in their imagination with to, convey physics. image that conveys physics. Well, on my channel, because it is, I might make $1, I guess, off of Google, as an example, or penny. I might not be able to use it under the Creative Commons license. I might literally have to buy into the license to use that. Now, mind you, I'm not making no money on Google. Well, it takes me a year to make $100 a year or more. So I might have to buy. One of them was like buying into a license to use it at my will, and just let them know how I use it. The other option for usage rights, when I looked up an image that corresponded with physics, was commercial and other license for commercial use, and having to possibly, I don't know, I ain't never looked at the commercial license thing, usage stuff, but buy into commercial license to use for just commercial purposes only. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't free reign. So I was like, forget it. I'm not going through all of that. I'm tired of it. But why do I bring it up? Because again, these people and the powers that be are allowing people that are able to afford to do so to buy up all of the natural resources, including land and water, as well as intellectual property, like just images of physics. So right now I'm going to talk about physics. I would love to show imagery. Y'all know I love show and tell. And I'm keeping going because, and not reading the chat because I forget where I'm going. So I will be reading in a minute. So don't think I'm ignoring you. So the reason why I wanted to pull up the image of physics is because I was thinking, I was like, okay, Lord, I had so many problems in school. I said I did make it through. I did overcome, but that's because I had an innate passion to learn. But there's so many youths that don't. It's so many people that don't. Getty Images. Okay, I'm a check that out. And so I was thinking about the inner city and the different challenges that youths face nowadays. Everything that the youths face. And a lot of what the youths face have to do with their parents' weaknesses, or their parents, and how their parents have been socially engineered to be self-destructive. You back? Thank you for coming back. They booted me off. They said my live stream had been terminated for some reason. I couldn't even see it. So I was like, I'm just going to close everything up. No images. So many hurdles to overcome. For so many different reasons. So many hurdles the youth have to overcome. Now, I do believe that there are people that are born, that are natural born geniuses. There are people that are born that have a passion to learn and seek knowledge. And so those type of children will, one way or another, if life permits them, they will advance, as far as education. But the rest, based on what's taking place now, will fall by the wayside. Many of the parents don't have the commitment, especially in certain certain families in the inner city, or certain families period abroad. I can say that because I done met other folks, other folks, but I speak primarily about my environment. The commitment to sit for 8 hours with their youths while they online, or to keep or have a home that, let me tell you, oh man, I just thought about something else. I'm gonna tell y'all what I thought about, and then I'm just stop and I'm gonna read my chat. I thought about in 1991 or 2 how all of a sudden it was this flood of marijuana that came in, that began the usage of how marijuana is used now. Marijuana is the biggest thing now. It's bigger and better than sliced bread. Before that, it wasn't I'm not saying it wasn't used. I don't believe it was misused, at least not here in the United States. It wasn't misused. So now after 30 years, almost 30 years, people glorify and glamorize marijuana and its use. So what I'm saying is the effect that is having on people's homes and how they conduct themselves. And so now we got kids that need to stay at home, be in front of a laptop, meaning their environment needs to be quiet. And what is it? Is the word conducive? I be forgetting, stressed out, y'all. Conducive, forgive me if I'm saying the wrong word, of a learning environment. But just that aspect of marijuana is one of the things that will not permit a household to support a child learning from home. That's just one. Then the other thing could be, we talked about it before, a shortage of food. You know, then I talked about it the other day when I was in a tent. We going into a new fiscal year with a new budget that is projected to have cuts. It was with the SNAP program. So we're talking about the kids not having food, the families not having food. I'm gonna try to stay focused, y'all. It's a lot that I see. Anywho, I said I was gonna stop, read my chat, and then come back to this because I do want to talk about physics, and I'm talking about it for a reason. It all goes together. By the right, you don't need oil, trees, or other minerals, but we need water. We definitely need water. See, all of the trees and stuff, you have to think about, like, trees. Right now, we don't need an abundance of trees, but it was a time that we needed trees for homes and building homes and different things like that, furniture. You know, that was an advance. Lumber was an advancement in technology at a particular time in our history. Oil was also a particular tool to help us advance. You know, that was a technological advance using oil, and oil still really relevant now. We don't necessarily need it to live, but we need it to have a particular quality of life, you know. But water, like you said, we definitely need water, definitely, hands down. The aquifer is millions of years old. Ancient waters used, and see, the ancient waters, when we start talking about ancient waters used to water all the farms in Midwest and Great Plains. That's my phone, y'all. They have depleted greatly, but still a lot there. And so when you start talking about these, anytime we start talking about ancient and antiquity and things like that, when we start talking about going down in the earth, you know how science talk about the layers and the sediments of earth. What's that, natural science? Layers and different sediments of the earth. Well, we talking about like a time machine, and in those different layers, that's another thing I don't think they be telling folk. When they be digging down in there, when they be going on their expeditions and stuff, they pulling up old germs and bacterias and all kind of stuff, bringing new plagues into the world. So at least that's my theory based on the stuff I learned. And so the same thing is with them waters itself. Them waters probably clean. I think the water's clean, but I guess it depends where it is as well too. And they have moved beyond many of these minerals, with the exception of uranium. They are on to rare earth metals, minerals now. Yeah, they've been on that. They have been on that. If you Google, I don't even know. I've done it recently, and I can't get what I used to could get on the internet. And I had a listing at one time that I lost when I went homeless. Let me say, almost like a catalog of all the known minerals and natural resources. I mean, minerals and metals in this earth. And when I say it was like a booklet of those things. And so, and I did a video talking about other minerals and different things like that, and gave the value of some of the minerals and metals that exist on this earth. And because, most times when I say resources and metals and different things, I know a lot of people think about the basics, gold and silver. Gold and silver is cheap in comparison to these rare minerals like you talking about. It's some stuff out here we talking about when it dealing with grams. We talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars for just grams, and so again, going back to the powers that be and those that they working with, they letting them, they selling off every part of this earth to the point that the rest of humanity is going to suffer and has been suffering. But now it's entering into an advanced stage. It's an advanced stage. You say they need them for all the technology. That's the only way we have advanced in technology. And I was saying that before in a live stream, I believe that the creator, whoever created this RAM, meant for us to make these discoveries. But every time we discovered something, we were supposed to use it to enhance the life of humanity overall. Like if we get a cure for cancer, the world of cancer should be eradicated. Like this smallpox, when they found a cure, it's eradicated. It's for humanity. But a lot of things that are being discovered is not for the overall well-being of humanity. I personally feel like the things that they did eradicate, they eradicated because it might have got to them. It wasn't a humanitarian. It wasn't a humanitarian effort even back then. Cell phone batteries and such. Check out Keystone XL pipeline. I think is that where they moved the Native Americans away to get the pipelines. And then we got to look at, again, going back to that map like the one I showed, something more up to date though, that pipeline that they want to lay down, that they was fighting them people over, that they took over their land, what was under there? You got to trace that whole line. Everything would go because they were tapping into the natural resources. And that's what I'd be saying, like, about different organizations. Example, ADOS, is they want land. They be wanting land, but a lot of the land again has been bought off already, and then stripped of their natural resources, so it's bare and barren. You know what I'm saying? And therefore basically worthless when you really look at it. It has no life sustaining qualities there, and it won't for maybe thousands of years until that part of the land or that vortex gets back in its a condition or state that it can continue processing and doing what was made to do by the creator. And so all of this is just completely insane, y'all. But I'm going somewhere. You say pipeline, the aquifer, and the Native American tribes who tried to block, they ended up causing an oil spill just like they feared. Wow, did they? There's a story. Okay, I'm gonna check them in. All right, where am I at? Ooh, okay. Keep your flow. I'm trying. PJ Giddy owns everything in terms of photos and images. Crazy. That's crazy. And I ain't read all the small print when I started YouTube, but I get the feeling that they own all my intellectual property on here too. And I know that's what Young Pharaoh and them fighting about. Like, come on now. If you gonna get it, you just gonna. So the way it's going is like, what's this? YouTube or Google, I give you this space to be able to share your thoughts and your ideas, and I own them because I gave you the space. That's the exchange. The contract term between Google and myself. I gave you the space. That's it, and you're gonna give me all your intellectual property, and I'm upload it to this central brain or God here on earth, and create again. I'm going to upload it to this brain and create God on earth using you and all your fellow YouTuber creators' imagination and thoughts and everything you've come to understand. So, we live in the same world. Okay, y'all. Physics. I shared that when I tried to Google an image of physics just to have show and tell, it only gave me 2 usage rights. And each of them seemed like it required me, but I don't know 100%, but I think so, to go to and oblige or obey some licensing rules. And if I recall, when it came to that Creative Commons license, it was talking about buying into something, into the license to be able to use it. So that's what I think. So I just backed up out of it. But I find that that's an issue because, well, why was I looking up physics? I mean, why was I looking up physics, the term physics and the imagery? It is because I was thinking about the children, the future. The future. Children are our future. Thinking about the children. And I was like, okay, they're going back to school. But for what? What are they taking? What is the curriculum going to look like? And I started thinking about the different levels of education. Well, from preschool up through, I guess, like middle school, you're learning the bare basics. You're learning to identify numbers, letters, learning how to put the letters together. You're learning how to compose sentences, etc., etc. Getting the foundation down, learning the language, everything. So when does a child be introduced into a new world order relative curriculum? I'm going to try and make that make sense. When I came up, I had to go through K through 12. Didn't know what I was doing, just following instructions, doing what I was supposed to do. But the truth of the matter is, I was just being taught and programmed to be able to take a position in this world to help the powers that be stay powerful. Some old basic job, just to say I can be self-sufficient. But it was a time when I was coming up that I was told that by the time I was of work age, artificial intelligence and robotics will be taken over and there will be less jobs. That was prophetic. It's been true. And to prepare. But coming up in an inner city school, I don't believe there were provisions made for people like me to say, hey, there's a field called was ITT Techs. I ain't never hear about that. I was in college before I heard about I think it's ITT Tech or whatever it is, or something like that. I never heard that. So there were no provisions made. You just say, hey, beware that there won't be as many jobs. And I told you I took what is it called, aptitude test or whatever. They showed I was a nun, a psychic, a religious person, a philosopher. I talked about that before. Anywho, I posed this question, if I did it successfully, to say, okay, it was already an issue when I came up. Now, the issue is enormous. And the issue is, how are we going to get the children? What role is there for the children, which are the future, to play? I don't know how to say that. I'm going to get it. Just be patient with me. I'm going somewhere with this. Ride the wave with me. Ride the wave is another terminology I bought for my spiritual experiences. It's everywhere now. Strategic. It's irritating. Let me go back. I'm going to have to use an example. You have a young child come up now. And they go through school and they learn the basics. They learn their ABCs and their 1, 2, 3s, and they learn how to write a sentence. Jack and Jill went up the hill and to fetch a pail of water, and they learn to read that sentence, comprehend what is being said, and understand it. But the new jobs, available jobs, are now, right now, in technology. So what am I saying? How can I say this? Because there's a lot going on. The new jobs are in physics. The majority of my peers, as far as I can recollect, over my, education, over my educational career, not many of them was good in science to the point of getting to physics. Not many. Let me stop. Physics. What are the prerequisites to the academic field of physics? Algebra. You have to have algebra hands down because you got to go over the calculus. I told y'all my story about algebra. The next class you have to have, or curriculum, no, I guess curriculum is the whole thing, is geometry and trigonometry. The next class is probability. Oh, I got to talk about probability and statistics. Then it's differential equations. These are some of the prerequisites to enter into the field of physics. I know at least coming out to inner city, it wasn't many of me or my peers that were cultivated to be able to advance into the field of physics. I don't even know if that may sound right. I'm going somewhere. I'm really trying. So all of these kids now, they're staying at home or choosing to go to school, whatever their prerogative is. This part is so complicated to me because it is mandatory for a person to have the basics, the basic discernment to be able to identify letters and numbers and how they relate and what they can do. That's the basics. It's mandatory. And maybe I can't see this clearly because I myself didn't have it and don't have it. And it's that bridge from the elementary education to more advanced studies in higher education. Like, I didn't understand algebra. Still to this day, insane concept to me. How do we get kids that are being homeschooled, facing all type of obstacles, to get from just learning the basics to academic disciplines such as physics? Because that's where the new jobs are. Not only are they in physics, and and it was evidence everywhere, y'all. It was evidence everywhere. What am I talking about? It was evidence everywhere because when I was coming up, they took field trips away. They took for a minute or reduced. If they didn't take it completely away, they reduced it. Like, extracurricular activities such as gym, sports. They took those things away or reduced them. Field trips were just gone. Music. The budgets that the schools got, at least in the inner city, didn't permit for music and music classes and to buy instruments for the school. Like when I played the violin, my mom had to go buy a violin for me. She had to hire a tutor for me. Different things like that. But that's not something that everybody can afford. And what am I talking? I'm not everywhere. Now I got people pulling up at my house, but I'm going somewhere. I'm going to just try to run through this because I want to say something and can't get it out. But the whole point is that the new job pool is going to be streamlined. And it's going to be streamlined because remember the job pool the career areas align with our social structure. Our social structure is also being streamlined. The powers that be, I do believe, expect the youth to fail. I'm going to have to do another video. I'm going to just move forward because the dog's barking and getting on my nerves. I can't get it out. The children are our future. Oh, the children are our future. I bring up the children because children are our future. And there was a time, I got to go back in time. Back in time, there they coming in. I got to go back. What was I doing? There was a time where was I at? Y'all, I'm trying to think of where I was. Was it a site I had up here? So much. It's deep, y'all. It's deep. It's so deep. Oh my God, it's so deep. It's so deep. It's so deep. Is it worth even thinking over because it's so deep? There was a time period that we'll say the 98 to 99% of the world's population was uneducated. There were a specific group of people that were educated. We'll say it's the 1 to 2%ers. Now, in past times, people were educated in, I could have swore I wrote that down because I had to look, I was looking that up. They were educated in cathedral schools or monistic schools taught by nuns. That's where people got their education from. So you got to remember that a lot of people didn't attend these places. These were very specific people that attended these places. Most of the world's population did not have education. And because they didn't have an education, they weren't being made aware of the various details and aspects associated with this reality and with our existence. All they had to learn from was the life. Yes, the life teaches. But there is so much more a person can learn when they have the freedom to, explore and to network and do different things like that. But the majority of the population didn't have time to do that because they were busy trying to cut down trees to build houses. They was pulling water, digging wells, pulling water out of wells. They was fishing. They was stocking up for the winter, etc., etc. They was making clothes, mending clothes, having babies, trying to survive the various elements and the different diseases that was going on. So they didn't have time for that. But there were a few. We're going to say the 1 or 2% even back then that were able to attend these monasteries. One of the questions I asked Google, I said, hey, Google, when was the first university open? And Google said the first university in the world was founded in 1088 in Bologna in Italy. But prior to that, what? People were educated in cathedrals, schools, and the monistic schools taught by what nuns. Why is that important? Number one, it lets us know that the majority of the world's population were uneducated. All they knew is what they learned from life. The next thing it lets us know where those secret societies and the whole concept of the Illuminati came from. We've talked about all these things. And then 10 the year of 1088 lets us know when the first university was open, and when the public, the first time the public possibly could have began to be educated like the 1 or 2 percenters. I'm sure that in 1088, the whole, the general public didn't run to the universities and fill out an application like we do now. No, I'm sure it still took hundreds and hundreds of years for people to attend these various universities. So, and another fun fact is that university that opened up in 1088, I'm probably gonna misquote this. I'm gonna quote this wrong. I'm gonna state this wrong. I'm so tired of these things. The person, I think, that opened up the university wrote like the first law book. That was like the first discipline of higher education was law. That was 1088. And why am I talking about all of that? It is because we can see how the masses, a large majority of the world population throughout history has been uneducated. And so the time period that we are in is a time period in which many people are educated. Many people attend universities now. So that's where, the awakening is, that's how the awakening is occurring. And there's a reason that finally, the 98 to 99 percenters were able to go off and gain a higher education. There's something to it, and that's something I want to explore. Anywho, where is I going? I'm going so. Okay, stop. I'm going somewhere else. Y'all know it all go together. Probably can't do it all right now. How long I've been on here? I'm gonna try to start 42 minutes. That's all. Every time I say that, press likes, please. I wish everybody would press a like. Thank you. It said the land started healing immediately when COVID first started. Yeah, that's what I heard. Everybody was reporting that. When stupid man was asked to stay in home. If we stay our stinking butt at home and don't be throwing all that pollution up, and Earth ready to, restabilize herself, let's start referring to it as the fake world, like fake news. The fake world that would reduce its fake power. Its fake power. I want to read a scripture, y'all. Y'all know that I'm not trying to convert nobody, but the scripture came to my mind. I'm all over the place, y'all know. I know it. But I'm going to talk about someone important in the history of humanity, and it's the first man. I want to talk about his social role, or the new term I'm adding is his biography. We're going to be using the word bio quite a bit, and the reason why I've chosen to use the word bio or biography is because at this point in time in the history of humanity, we're dealing with a lot of astrology. Oh, that's what I can say. We're dealing with a lot of astrology. And the 10th house in astrology can be summed up in an individual's bio or biography. Yours, mine, and every individual that has ever existed in humanity at any given time. Those bios. So that's what the 10th house really is. All that the bio says. Anywho, I had to stop because I was like, the bio. Going back to the first university. Gotta say this. I want to talk about the classes. Did I write it down? Or I got to have written it down because it's interesting. Oh gosh, I need those classes. I must have closed that up. Oh, nope, I have it here. So, how did a person get to school? We can say, of course, back during that time, school or higher education was limited to men. That's where they get women can't preach and do all of that. Well, of course, more advanced learning was for men back then. It was limited. Anywho, they call it trivium, like the word trivial. Well, talking about education. First, a young man had to prove that he could accomplish the trivium. Yep. Okay. You woke up. You didn't work and tired. You go back to work tonight. Oh, girl. So what are trivial? The trivium classes or the basics? Grammar, rhetoric, dialect, or logic. If a young man was able to be successful in those areas, then he had the opportunity possibly to go on to the quadrium, you know, quad. Well, we know quad mean four, right? Let's see. The four advancers. What would you want to advance into? Arithmetic, geometry, music, Illuminati, and astronomy. That was back then. I thought that was interesting, that astronomy was one of them, and another was music. Even though, like in Detroit public schools, they didn't want to offer any funding for kids to go into music. They didn't teach them anyway the depth of music, Illuminati, you know, sounds and tones and different things like that, that like Michael Jackson knew very well, you know, and its power. Anyway, they want to defund those type of programs. Our kids are our future. So, anywho, but that says something. I'm a little long. That's it. So, where was I going? I fussed about physics a little bit. I had to leave that alone for a minute. I'm going to come over here. The first man. Reading Genesis chapter 2 verses 19 through 20. It says, "And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air. And he brought them to the man to see what he would name each one. And whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name." I can't read. Read it again. "And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air, and he brought them to the man to see what he would name each one. And whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name." Why is that important? Well, it goes back to when I did the video about the broomstick challenge. Pay attention to that scripture, Genesis chapter 2, verses 19 to 20. We learned there that man gets to define every element and aspect in this physical realm. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that physics image I wanted to pull up, which is a bunch of differential equations or defining symbols to describe a part or a portion or a certain aspect of physicality. Let me try to say that again because I don't even know if it makes sense. I'm trying to be a smart behind and I don't know nothing. But listen, it's something, I'm right somewhere in here. That our top physicists that write those equations are defining reality. It's not like God said, hey, this is the equation for gravity. What is it? I don't know. Or what's the one? Einstein, E equals M times square. God didn't say here, Einstein, E equals M times square. No, Einstein did that. Man did that. He named that aspect of our reality. Just like God in the Bible gave authority to Adam to name every single beast and every single fowl or fish, bird of the air. Man does the same. A man wrote what? E equals M times square. Somebody else wrote pi and figured out that equation. Or was it 3.114, whatever it is. Some man did that. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that because just like the broomstick challenge, I told y'all, I said we have been manipulated into agreeing to changing the dynamics that are associated with the physics of this world. We have the power to redefine it. We were manipulated through what? Years and years of social engineering and brainwashing and all kinds of stuff. But then there are the powers that be and those that they work with, the 1% to 2%ers that are currently redefining our reality. They are changing the equations to our reality. Let me stop. I'm going somewhere else. I'm rambling. I told y'all about my visit to Henry Ford Museum. And I told you that I looked at this painting called Jubilee Lights, or Jubilee Lights, or whatever, by master artist Bacon. And don't forget your phone saying Nancy. Why am I bringing it back up? I forgot. I was just talking about physics, redefining, yada yada. How you forget Nancy? You was on fire. I was almost on fire. I brought that back up because it plays into this too. What was it? I'm gonna have to forget. I'm gonna have to let it go to remember. I'm gonna let it go to remember. So, physics. Number one, and we just talked about it. The reason why I couldn't pull an image up freely that shows the various equations associated with physics, because somebody already owned it. Who owned it? The person that came up with the equation. I'm going to tell you where the concept of what I'm talking about really stands out. It was a movie recently made called something Figures. What was the name with Figures? With the black women that joined NASA. You know, NASA's, those people that have been over NASA since NASA began were over defining and plotting courses that had to do with what? Space travel. You know? And in that movie, Hidden Figures. In that movie, the mathematician Taji Cookie, she was trying to figure out an equation, and the whole wall was a chalkboard. Love it. Whole wall was a chalkboard, and so all of these equations are from one side of the chalkboard to the other, from the bottom to the top. Is little space just left to come up with the answer, as is always depicted in the movies. And she said that she says, I got it. She got the person that historically had already written an equation like that right there. That person's research, that person's formula, that person's equation goes here and is the answer to how we can create a trajectory to get this whatever rocket out here and have it land safe back on this earth. What am I talking about? I'm talking about all those equations on the wall were different people's work, and they explain different parts of our reality, whether it's seemingly empty space, or if it is the dimensions of a chair, or if it's air, H2O, or if it is the symbol of an element, AU, is that what we saw earlier on the map for gold? You know, humans did this. And they have defined everything and are now currently in the middle of redefining some of the elements associated with our reality. That's one of the things I think is why it's been okay for so many people to seek higher education, because some things are being changed. Anyway, I was trying to go somewhere. I forgot. I got to think about that. What did I bring up? What is his name? Hearing forward. It was for a reason. Probability. That's why. Am I still on here? I don't even know. I just be running my mouth. Probability. Hearing forward. When I visited Hearing forward and got fixated with that picture, that painting, there was a room on maybe 20 or so feet away, 30 feet away from that painting. I think it was. Anyway, in this room, it was an glass encased room, and in a room, it was about probability. The whole room was dedicated to probability. And I stood there, and I knew it was about probability before I even seen the sign, based on what I was looking at. And it was like nothing. I don't even remember what else was in the room. I looked around the room, but it was this main or central exhibit that I knew. It caught my eye, and I said, this is about probability. And I knew it because it was I don't know what it is, like a board with different pegs in it. Pegs going down the line. Let's say it was I'm putting my fat arms no attention, y'all. I know y'all looking. Let's say I don't know, 10-foot board across and down, I don't know, 8 feet or something like that. 10 by 8. It might not even been that big. Just ride away with me. And pegged into the board were, we can say, pegs all the way down, a grid of pegs. The board was framed, so it was in glass. At the top, in the center, was a hole. And through that hole came, like, I don't know, a dozen balls. The size of maybe a jack ball. And these balls always fell the exact same way every time they filtered through. Meaning when it ran down that 8-foot fall, you know, each ball always went to the same slot or column, and they fell, you know, through the grid the exact same way before they entered out at the bottom. And that was a example of probability. And why was that example of probability? Well, what dawned on me was that I was like, out of all the displays here at this museum, this particular display was enclosed in a room and with glass and everything, meaning it was like an air pressure room, as far as I'm concerned. It was an air pressure room, which means the variables were always the exact same. They would never change. Because if one variable was to change, like air pressure in that room, or any tremor or anything, it would cause the balls to detour from their course. You know, detour from their course. But long as none of the variables change, those balls were guaranteed to fall the exact same way every time. Physics. I'm on probability. Probability, which is a class that you gotta have for physics. And I'll say I remember that, but now I don't remember why I said it. But y'all just remember I said it. I'm going somewhere with something. I'm only gonna be on here another 15 minutes, and I'm gonna let y'all go, and probably, if I can, come back tonight. So Um, talked about the social role of Adam and how he was charged with naming every creature. And still to this day, man has continued to define the remainder of our physical realm, or our physical realm, our realm, period, because it's more than physicality. Define our realm, and is still doing so, and will continue to do so. Now, physics is only one of the career fields I see that will be open in the future. Most things are high technology, like IT tech or whatever it's called. So, what requisites must a person fulfill in order to become an IT tech? We got a lot of them now, though. And engineers to be able to maintain, artificial intelligence. What field was the name for that field, and what are the requisites to enter into that field? Gotta go back to the kids, because they are our future. I was talking about in times past, historically, 98 to 99% of the world's population lacked education or were uneducated. They had bigger fish to fry. They had to live. They had to survive. They had to strive. Try to strive. I personally believe, based on the dynamics that exist in our reality, associated with our school systems, various school systems, that the powers that be, the 1 to 2%ers, have planned to lead the children that are our future back to a level of ignorance. That's so obvious to me, because, and I made a video and it was called article, I changed it to article something, I can't remember, but anyway, and I also did a video talking about, are you that damn stupid, or whatever it was. But what it was about, saying, hey, schools are now not truly interested in teaching children how to write sentences and how to structure them. The school system is not interested in the kids learning to write in cursive. Those are just some examples. Why is that important? Well, we've talked about it, and I know other YouTube creators have talked about it, is that writing and spelling allows you to create spells. It allows you to combat spells. See, once upon a time, that was a part of the Illuminati and the hidden secret societies. They knew that, where the rest didn't. Remember, one of the first classes and books that were written for the first university ever was law. And law is composing of what? Words, letters and words to do what? Make a claim against somebody or defend yourself. They are planning for the younger generation not to know how to write those spells. And they intend to do it. To make what? Them ignorant again. And it's not just for the black community. It's going to be across the board. It's going to be 98 to 99% of the world's population that will be back in those dark ages once again, intellectually. Another thing, remember I was saying when I came up, they was defunding the music. Wasn't no music classes. And then in the time periods that there was music classes offered, wasn't no instruments. So the parents had to buy instruments. I come from the inner city at a time period in which drugs was ravishing the inner city. And so parents didn't have the money. They weren't focused on that. Many of them was on drugs. Others was trying to protect their families. Hi, Tiffany, how are you? I'll read your chat in a minute. And so what I'm saying is, It's been a plan that has been set in motion hundreds of years ago that is just unfolding now. The reason why they they didn't want music to be funded. It wasn't because they didn't have the money. They didn't want. The reason why they didn't want kids to have instruments is because what? The Illuminati, the secret society, was being revealed to these children. The early stages of it. By taking music away from children, from school, from learn as a area of focus of learning, unless they have a natural propensity to do so, to achieve and be successful in that field, or have that natural talent, then they'll never achieve what Michael Jackson, as an example, achieved. Understanding that which the Illuminati and the secret societies have hidden from us, about tones, vibrations, and different things like that. That is, they are intentionally, what I'm saying, if I'm not saying it right, they are the powers that be, the 2%ers are intentionally leading our youth to be ignorant, so they be in the dark ages once again. It's not like it was back in the dark ages, where people just started out without the education, and their ancestors before them didn't have the education. But the time came that we became educated. And then, late 1900s, we became educated. And so we are awake, we are aware of the potentials of these various branches of knowledge and academic disciplines. We understand the power. We are a threat to the 1% and 2%ers. If anything is going to be done to save the world, it will be done now. If we are going to be righteous, we're going to do it now, because the children are being dumbed down. Not only is it they're being programmed not to be able to compose spells or respond to spells, they are also being enchanted. And we know this. We act like we don't know. We are too educated not to know that they're being enchanted by drugs. The introduction to ecstasy, to marijuana, to cocaine, to, what's out here? It's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know. It's everywhere. They're being enchanted. They're enchanted by music. We know that these are spells. We know these are. They don't know. They don't have, enough education. They have been socially engineered, just like the Bible says. They won't even respect their parents or their seniors or their ancestors. They won't lean upon their ancestors for guidance, or won't allow an ancestor or senior to be their confidant. They won't. We so uncool and outdated, etc., that they're not listening, and so they are not seeing that they are being what again put under a trance at all. And the trances that they are being put up under is leading them to kill themselves. Pay attention to what's happening. I'm just going somewhere. I'm getting to cussing and fussing, y'all. I'm getting upset. I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place, y'all. Because I had somewhere to go. I don't even know if I'm... How did I put this in? Leave this in. I don't know how to put this in. This is about, so it's time to go back to school. What are they going to be learning? What are the potential jobs for school-age children today? What are they? If they're not learning how to structure sentences. Back in the day, I heard, but I don't know because I wasn't back there, that when people that couldn't read and write, when they had legal issues, they just put an X. Maybe they're allowing the children to learn how to write their name, so it won't be no confusion about who this the system is destroying or hurting in some way. I don't know, because what are they learning, and for what? What jobs are they going to have? Now, our infrastructure is changing. Our social constructs are changing. To what? To what extent are they being slimmed down to be? Oh, I know this is going to be offensive to somebody, but that's okay. And it's about instant gratification. It's about they are being taught robotics, but not most children. And you're talking about at home. There is. Some kids are still going to school, but even when it comes to that, they're being taught robotics, but understanding people. Just in general, there are only so many people or children that are going to catch on and understand robotics and other forms of technology. You get what I'm saying? There's only so many, it's only a small percentage that's going to be able to jump on and ride that wave successfully. The rest, as they did during my generation, will fall by the wayside and be dropouts. Example, if a person wasn't masterful in learning robotics or any other form of technology or whatever, then at one point in time they could become a janitor. Well, that's being outdated. You see what I'm saying? They're being taught to be consumers, and they're being taught to be consumers. But how can they be consumers and they ain't got they ain't gonna have work? You know what I'm saying? What kind of work are these youths gonna have? This is intentional. This is so intentional, and it is. I talked about probability, but it was something else. I was on here because of this. So they're about to go back to school. And it was something, I don't know, I've been looking at so much stuff because I want to talk about necromancy too, in relationship to this. I can't remember because I had to close all my stuff down since they kicked me off. I'm gonna read the definition for necromancy to see if I can remember why I'm supposed to talk about it. It's all relative and goes together. It says necromancy is the practice of magic involving communication with the dead, either by summoning their spirits as an apparition, visions, or raising them bodily for the purpose of divination, imparting the means to foretell the future. What was I supposed to talk about? Somebody mentioned, I think it was it? I don't know if it was Yanni or I don't know, Yanni. I can't remember. I don't know if it was Yanni or Cooper, but one of you is saying we need to start calling them the fake world and the fake news. That's another thing that's going on. Remember, this is planned. They're dumbing down the children because they can't dumb us down. The change is going to happen. It's going to happen now. It's going to happen now. Why? Right now. Because if you get older, as we get older, we lose our passion. You lose our physical ability to, go out into this world and do what we need to do. That's the truth about getting old. Now, the necromancy came in something like this. I don't know how I had it, but fake news, fake teachings, I did a video called Don't Accept Any Wood Nickels, or Have You Accepted Any Wood Nickels? Fake teachings, being misled, being entertained, being enchanted, etc., etc. And there being so much information coming from everywhere. The use, due to their limited what do they call it? Limited exposure to the world, is making it difficult for them to be able to discern what is fact and what is fiction. The fake news that is out here is out here for a reason. The false teachers are out here for a reason. It is to totally confuse them so that they are so baffled and confused that they don't know what decisions to make, because they have no facts. They have no foundation to stand on and to move from. Many of the foundations, or the information I'm talking about, the foundational information they have, when they go to move off those foundations, it's going to be like some Indiana Jones stuff. They got a new program out called Lovecraft, and in the last scene, I do believe it was a bridge they were crossing, a plank, and the plank just started miraculously dissolving or vanishing. They're going to fall off the edge because everything is going to dissolve from up under them. If we're going to do something, now's the time. Oh, wow. So when I say right now, the stuff that I'm researching and exploring and attempting to talk about doing this live stream is so complex. It's like the layer of onion, layers of an onion. It really is. So I'm getting overwhelmed. Maybe it's time to take a break, because the reality is the youths are truly the ones who are under attack. They're being bred to be ignorant. But I want to say it's a different, remember I started talking about in the past, the people were uneducated. But that was the norm. Their ancestors were uneducated. But these children are coming from very educated people, well-versed people, well-traveled people. We are in the age of online technology. So they have access to a lot of very knowledgeable people. That's why the powers that be had to make sure that the false news and the false prophets were out here, because right now, for real, there's some of the most intellectual people that exist over this whole world. That is to say, all cultures, races, nationalities, sizes, creeds, whatever, sexual orientation, another thing, that they had to infiltrate or block the children being able to learn from the real teachers. It's intentional. And another way that they blocked, other than putting false teachers and false news and everything out here, so that the youth couldn't, talk with and commune with the teachers, true teachers or elders or whatever, is the enchantment through the music and the movies and the misrepresentation of who they really are and who they could end up being. Another thing that has taken place is when it comes to money. And this is for the future, the children when they're, up to age. is that at this point in time, money is being thrown around like it's just grown trees, literally. And many people, point of reference is what I usually say, especially youths, don't understand that. And that's why the older generation cussing and fussing now about all the stimulus money and everything going crazy. Like, you got to stop making all this money, giving all this stimulus, everybody go back to work. Because they understand that the value of the dollar can depreciate, or it can just completely fall out from, the value can fall out from under it. Where the younger generation, they have no point of reference to know that that is even possible, because money being the what they call it, means to all ends, or ends to all means, whatever it is, that's all they know. So they could not imagine that money won't have no value if certain things happen in our world, right? So the time period is going to come, I say, that money is going to lose its value. It won't hold any value anymore. And then talking about the youth still, they have no understanding. They're not being trained to have any understanding about what real wealth is. And I done talked about real wealth over and over again. They don't understand that the natural resources that help to sustain our lives are what real wealth is. And that's what the 1 and 2 percenters, the powers that be, are hoarding from the rest of society. The rest of the world's population. But our generation, we know that. That's why we argue, fuss, protest. That's why we're in this rat race, this race between cultures. Who's going to get what? We know it's out here. And we know what we can do with certain things, like enough access to food or water or fabrics or, different things, like we know. But the younger generation is already pre-made for them. They don't know nothing about having to weave fabric, stitch it together. They don't know nothing about digging no well, throwing no bucket down no well to pour no water up, to boil it. And they don't know nothing about going fishing and hunting rabbits and, deboning this. They don't know nothing about that, deer hunting. See, they not being trained for that. Not even in the school system. It's nothing like that. When I came up, I had economics. I ain't heard a young person having economics, and I don't know when. I learned about cooking. I learned about sewing. And what I didn't learn in school, my mom taught me. How many children right now, parents are seamstress, or parents are hunters or gatherers or gardeners. These kids aren't getting even the fundamentals. What am I saying? My generation, some of us, we got the fundamentals. But after that, nobody else got them. Nobody else got them. Unless the family was just cut like that. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about, if you really look at what's going on, there is a direct attack on our school-age children. Those now and those to shortly come. In a while, the money is going to lose its value. And they are not going to, the school-age children now, and some to come, won't have any idea of how to take care of themselves under that worst case scenario, and will what? Become slaves to the system. Right now, they pushing the envelope. But the chances are, if they push too hard, they're going to cause the civil unrest. So I want to stop right now and go into the civil unrest. Any fool that wants to go into civil battle is a fool, and they know it. You've been socially engineered to want to be combative with your neighbor for a purpose, because they know that right now that we are the biggest threat. They know right now that we are the biggest threat. They know that that term race had meaning. Did we get it? We're racing to see who can get the bread to eat. We're racing to see who can get that next cup of water. You know what I'm saying? They say that it's scarcity or it's not enough, and so we racing after it. As long as we racing, trying to make sure we have what we need, that will always keep us arguing and battling. Always. Which means if we arguing and battling, over trying to get what we need. If we're going to have civil unrest for any a number of staged events they creating, they social engineering us to do so. It's because they don't want you to move and stop them from doing what they're doing to the school-age children that are and will soon come. It is right now, right here, right now, during this period, during this time period, during these generations that exist, that if something is going to be done to stop the 1% and 2%ers agenda, it is now. It is not later. It's no way it will be later. Not at all. It wasn't in the past because they weren't educated enough. In the future, the children won't be educated enough. They will lack knowledge just like the people do in them dark ages. It is now a time when a large percentage of the world's population is educated and knowledgeable. We are aware of what alchemy really is. We are aware of what spell making really is, and we can enact all of these things. We are aware of what it really means to talk to our ancestors. In the past, they didn't know. In the future, they won't know. Talking to the ancestors, then I'm going to let you go and come back later. I'll tell you what I think talking to the ancestors are. Yes, you can get it in a private, quiet space and kick it with, your deceased grandma or great grandma or aunties or whomever has preceded you, is the word in death. But to me, kicking it with the ancestors suggests you can tap into their medical history and say, oh, you had heart disease and it ran in the family, so these are the adjustments or changes I have to make. You know what I'm saying? Different things like this. Tapping into the ancestors, you can look into where they came from demographically. Like some people come from over, I don't know, Poland or whatever, and come up to the U.S. and build themselves up and be able to refer back to the steps that they took to get where they are, to build a American dream, so to say. That's what I believe is talking to the ancestors. But these young adults, these school-age children that are and soon will be, aren't even going to reach back and talk to the ancestors because they're not going to know how to access our system or the standing system to be able to pull your birth records, your health records, etc., in order to talk to you, to the ancestors. Now I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to read the chat later. I got to take a bathroom break. Love y'all. Until later. I'm coming back later, y'all, because I'm on a roll.